Excellent. Thank you so much, Auntie Sylvia. And today, a greeting to all of you on Facebook as always. We appreciate you joining us. For those who may not be aware, we do these every single day, Monday to Friday from 7:30 to 8. If we go 8:05 max, of course, there are some days when we have our leaders who go up to 8:15. But essentially, it's 45 minutes, but we always try and keep it to 30 minutes. And that's what we'll be doing today. And so without further ado, let me jump straight into the lesson today. And today we are continuing the series on quantum leaping. I've been teaching on quantum leaping for a while, and it's really been a baby I've been running with. And for those of you who may not be aware, there are some barriers we've been looking at. We've said that number one, that 95% of our daily behavior is automated by the subconscious mind, and therefore that's what we call the elephant in the room. It's the reticular activation system, which is our personal assistant within our minds that filters only what we've been programmed to respond to. And the funniest thing is, this is what goes. It doesn't matter what you think, what you want, what goes is what's in your subconscious mind. That's a very powerful barrier, and it must be overcome. Number two, our conscious mind is the creative mind, so it only operates 5% of the time. That means 1 out of 16 hours is when you are actively, 1 hour in 16 hours is when you're actively aware and doing things that you control. 15 of those 16 hours, because the day has 24, so 8 years sleep, so 16. So 15 out of those, 16 hours, you're on autopilot. And that's a scary thought. So your creative mind is very minimal in its effect. And this is the reason why, number three, positive speech and self-help is not enough. You need to go deeper than just these two. Why? Because you have what we call a set mind, okay? Your habits and behaviors are ingrained at subconscious level from your what we call your formative years. That's usually between the age of 0 and 7. And those habits you pick from that time rule the rest of your life. And that's why we have to work with those. Now, number four, we are products of our environment. Our environments are very powerful programming tools. The greatest programming happens between the ages I just spoke about. The theta brainwave phase of our lives is where we absorb wholesale everything around us. Usually it's models, words, actions, and culture. And these things remain hardwired. They become hardwired rather during teenage into our 20s. And that's why it becomes so difficult to overcome these things unless, number five, you do what we have been teaching, which is to change the programming at subconscious level. I talked about 3 ways that happens. Number one, self-hypnosis. Number two, repetition and meditation. And number three, high impact events. There is a fourth method. I don't support it personally, but it's hypnosis. So these are the 4 methods. And so today, what we're going to do, we're sinking into another part of this program or teaching, which is extremely powerful. And if you recall, if you have done the first part I've taught about, if you have followed and done everything that I taught, which is number one, deal with the self-hypnosis that basically deals with changing deeply ingrained beliefs and habits that are in your subconscious mind. If you change those, then what happens inevitably is you're going to shift the overall mind of your subconscious mind and begin to see it move towards what you want to see. I'm not going to teach that today. Then secondly, you're going to deal with repetition or meditation as taught by the Bible. There's a big difference, by the way, between Eastern meditation and biblical meditation. So again, no time, just go into our back series. You'll find all the series there. You'll find all the lessons there. Just go back, you'll find them. And if you're lost, I can guide where to get them from, but you can go to my platform, which is the personal, business and life mentorship coaching. You will find everything there. So if you're lost, just ask how you can be part of that group. We'll post it in the Facebook and show you how to get to it. When you get to it, go to the guides. When you go to the guides, go to guide number 3 or number 4, one of the two, can't remember which one. And it has all the videos, these Monday videos, and you will find all the lessons, little 30-minute lessons on this whole subject. You will be richly helped and blessed by them. So that's very important. And then, of course, high impact events, those are almost out of your control because those just happen. That's where you have epiphanies, and that's where big life-changing events happen that cause you to make a shift. So epiphanies tend to come when you're ready for them. That's why the Chinese have a saying that says that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. I agree totally. God has so much in store for us that he wants to give us, but you've got to be aligned to him. If you're not aligned to God's will, it can't happen. There's a script, when we pray, Jesus taught us to say, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. You have heard the saying, as above, so below. Now, as above, so below has got a lot of occultic connotations, but there's a lot of truth to it as well, because as above, so below, when you go beyond the kingdom of the enemy, there is a greater kingdom, and that's the kingdom of God. And in that kingdom, God declares that he has given us all spiritual blessings in heavenly places. Now, those blessings sit there, but they cannot be accessed unless we align to his will. And I'm not going to go into what you need to do to align to his will, because that's not the subject today. But my point is, when we align, then those blessings are able to now make their way through and manifest on earth in your heart and then into your reality. And there's a process to manifesting those things from your heart or mind into reality. That's a whole other lesson. We teach it in the Quantum Leap. Go check it out. Now, when you align these things, then things begin to occur in alignment with God's will. And that's why we say, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So which means there are many people who are not seeing the will of God done in their lives because they are misaligned. And when you're misaligned, I assure you, nothing's going to happen. One of the most interesting things we usually do, I like watching my wife do her craft of cakes and stuff. And she's got this air gun, and that air gun is really an interesting piece of gadget. But what it does, this air gun, is that you can put powder in it and mix it with alcohol, and then it produces a fine mist of whatever color you're trying to paint. So she usually likes using it for spray painting the cakes, with the different colors she wants, usually gold or whatever. Now, what's interesting is if you take that powder and you use a different alcohol substance, it's so amazing. I mean, for me, I'm still blown by this. The instructions are clear that you must use vodka. So there's times we've used brandy, okay? And what happens is apparently the brandy does not dissolve the particles of paint. And so no matter how much you blow, nothing's coming out. Now that's an interesting thing. That's what I call a misalignment. You see what I'm saying? The gold is there, the air is there, but the spray is not coming out. And that's what happens to so many people. They are misaligned. There's things they do in their life that draw them away from the will of God. And yes, there's this blessing on standby. It does not manifest, even though God's already sent it out there, but you're misaligned. You're out of place. And this is a very serious teaching here. So many need to align to get back into alignment with God. And like I said, I'm not going to go into what you need to do to align yourself to God, because today my lesson is on the keys to mastery. Now, when you want to master your life, if you want to operate in mastery, here's what you need to do. It has been repeatedly stated that repetition is the key to mastery. Now, do you remember when I talked about the 3 things that you do in order to change the programming at subconscious level? Number 1, I talked about hypnosis, and I spoke specifically about self-hypnosis, because that's the one I would rather speak on, self-hypnosis. So that means you program your mind yourself by positive affirmations and declarations in line with what God's will is and what God has said about you. I am telling you, when you do that, it means you're in agreement. You're in agreement with God. That's one of the keys to alignment. So when you're in agreement with God, when God says something about you, it's true. But then why is it not manifesting? Because you're not in agreement. The Bible says 2 cannot walk together unless they agree. So there has to be an agreement between God and man. Now, the beauty is God already agreed. The Bible says the promises of God are yes and amen. So which means he already agreed. So the problem is we are not in agreement. Simple. So when we now come into agreement with God, then boom, it manifests. So repetition is the key to mastery. So in our teaching, we talk about repetition. You have to repeat this thing over and over and over and over And this repetition, that's the reason why even in nursery school, they teach those nursery rhymes over and over with songs, because as you do that over and over and over, your mind begins to be programmed. Okay. In short, the more one practices and does something over time, the better and better they become. Okay. What most do not realize is that there are, 4 very distinct processes that take place. So that's what I'm going to spend the remaining 18 minutes explaining. So here we begin. So the first one is called unconscious incompetence. Please type in the comment box, unconscious incompetence. Just write that down. Unconscious incompetence. I know this is really gonna help a lot of people. Okay, so just type that down, unconscious incompetence. On Facebook as well, if you can, write it down, unconscious incompetence. That's number 1. So what is unconscious incompetence? Okay, this is the stage where you have absolutely no knowledge, you have no skill, and have completely no capacity or ability to perform whatever endeavor. All right, so no knowledge, that means you don't even know where to start from. You have no skill, that means you've not taught yourself anything. You have no capacity, means you've got no ability to hold this thing or to contain this thing. You are fresh and completely blank. Your conscious mind doesn't even know what to do. So that's the first stage. It's called unconscious incompetence. Just write that down, unconscious incompetence, and put number 1 next to it. That's very, very powerful, because it is so important, because you need to understand that this is the biggest factor you need to look at, number 1. So unconscious incompetence. Okay, so now at that stage, that's what happens when you approach anything in life. It doesn't matter what it is, you're basically a blank book, blank page. You have no idea how to proceed from there. It is completely new. Okay, so you're both unconscious about it and you're incompetent about it. But then comes number 2. So let's write that down. Number 2 is conscious incompetence. Okay, so number 2 is conscious incompetence. So I want you to write that down as well. Conscious. I've just misspelled the conscious here. So that's number 2. So conscious incompetence. So now conscious incompetence, what is that exactly? Now here, you now gain knowledge on how to make it happen. Okay, so that's the first thing. So consciously, not subconscious, but consciously, you learn. You gain the knowledge. This is what you do, A, B, C, D. However, you only have head knowledge, but no skill to perform well. Really need to take note of that. So you have head knowledge, but no skill to perform. And one major difference is that you are now aware of your incompetence, but haven't yet mastered how to make your body perform this skill well. So here in your head, you know you're incompetent, you know, okay, now this is what I need to do, but your body hasn't followed through. At this stage, your conscious mind is now actively mastering, listen to this, the process of performance. So there is a process that you learn that helps you perform. So that process, do this, then do that, then do this, then do that, then move your finger like that, then move your head like that, whatever it is. That process of performance is where you are still stuck at. You don't know how to operate in that space yet, okay? Now, as you perform, you're 100%, this is very important, you're 100% aware of the process and are doing your best to coordinate your mind and body towards learning this sequence of performance. So I really find that very, very interesting. So you are consciously incompetent. Remember, in the first one, you were unconsciously incompetent. So you didn't even know that you don't know. That's very interesting. You didn't even know that you don't know. Now you know that you don't know. So you see the difference? So that's what we call conscious incompetence, all right? So as you perform, you're 100% aware of the process. So everything about that process, you are aware. It's like when you're riding the bicycle, you can sense, I'm not going to lean to the left. Oh my God. You know, when you're driving, oh my God, there's a truck coming. You know, you're so consciously aware of your incompetence. It's a good stage to be at because at least it shows that you know that you don't know. You know the most dangerous people? The most dangerous people are the first phase. The ones who are unconsciously incompetent. They don't know, but neither do they even know that they don't know. All right, so at least those who know that they don't know are at a place where they are learning to change that. So the worst of the sheeple is that they don't know that they don't know. I know that sounds crazy, but that's what it is. Then number 3, type it in the box, conscious competence. Now that's number 3, conscious competence. Let me type that down as well. I'm actually enjoying this. Conscious competence. So conscious competence, what is that? You see, at this stage, you are now mastering the process as far as your knowledge and skill are concerned. You're now mastering the process. So you're going beyond figuring out the process to mastering the process, okay? You get better at doing it, but are conscious of the process of performance. So this is very interesting because in the other one, you are what? You are actively mastering and learning the process of performance, but now you are conscious of the process of performance and you have now mastered how to perform, but it is still operating at the conscious mind level. One noticeable difference now is that you are fairly good at what you do, but your focus and attention are still 100% on the task and require your constant and a divided attention to perform effectively. So you are really locked in the process. We call it the new driver phenomenon. You know these new drivers? You can't even wave at a new driver because they won't even look left or right. They're just so focused on the road. Hi, I can't see anything. I'm just looking at the road. You know, they can't even talk to the people in the car because they're so conscious. You see, that's the process. That process is that they are conscious of the process of performance, but they are, you know, they've now gotten some competence in it. In short, they know that they know. Okay, they know that they know, but they still are very, very conscious of what they do as they perform. Very, very important to remember that because that for many people is a very serious challenge. So, but it's a good one because at this stage, with more practice, you will get better, which brings us to the ultimate point of mastery. Okay, now this is very, very important. This one, we're going to type it down. Unconscious competence. Unconscious, that's number 4. Unconscious competence. There you go. So unconscious competence. Now that, my friends, is the mastery level. See, at this stage, your subconscious mind has now etched a neural pathway in your brain that through repetition, remember the repetitive learning, has kicked in and fully automated the performance. So before you were conscious of the performance, you were mastering the process of performance, you were conscious of the process of performance, but now the brain has kicked in and it's fully automated the performance based on, hear this well, experiential knowledge and skill. This is the reason, for example, myself, I always argue and say, and agree totally with the saying that says, the man with knowledge is always at the mercy of the man with experience. You can bring me all your knowledge, all your book stuff you learned in theology or whatever it is. That's great. But if I have an experience of God, that's different. You won't be able to do anything to convince me otherwise. And I think one of my favorite examples has got to be Paul, not too related, but it's true. Paul was a lawyer of Israel. He was a teacher of Pharisees. Imagine, Pharisees knew the law inside out. Paul used to teach Pharisees. So think of his level of knowledge in the Bible or in the Torah and in the law. of the Jews. And that's why he actually believed 100% that what he was doing was God's work, and he was going around killing all these saints and all these believers because he believed they were violating the law, which he knew 100%. And then what happened to him? He had a road to Damascus experience. He had this experience where he saw the living God. He saw Yeshua. And Jesus spoke to him, and whatever happened to him that day completely changed his life. I call that a high impact event. Okay? And what did that high impact event do? It completely messed with his paradigm. It changed everything about what he knew. So he had an experience of God. So what happened now is the experiential knowledge that he got of God completely messed his previous book knowledge. And that's exactly what I'm trying to insinuate in my statement here. That when you get experiential knowledge through this repetition, it does the same thing. It completely changes whatever is there before. It shifts stuff in your subconscious mind. Foundations are remade. You see, that's what that is, okay? So the process of performance moves completely away from the conscious mind and is now the preserve of the subconscious mind. Now, hear me well. You no longer have to think about it, you just perform. Your body moves without you having to think about it and can be focused on something else completely whilst performing the task. This is what is known as being in the zone, all right? Examples include, but are not limited to, quite a number. Walking, you don't think about walking, you just do it. That's because you learned at one point and then finally mastered it, and it shifted from your conscious mind to subconscious. Swimming, riding a bicycle, driving a car, typing, drawing, sculpting, playing a musical instrument, martial arts, and many other activities. When you do these often enough, they move from your conscious mind to your subconscious mind. It's no longer something you think about. Your brain has been programmed at subconscious level to just react, okay? So you have to ask yourself, what exactly is that? That's what we call conditioning. That's what it is. So in the art or the keys to mastery, it is about conditioning. I just used the different word mastery there just to give it some pizzazz, but it essentially is conditioning. That's why you condition. This is how animals are taught to be domesticated and behave in a particular way. It's the same process. It's called conditioning. After some time, this goes into their into their subconscious mind, and it becomes part of their behavior. They don't even know they do it. It's just part of them. Everything we are as human beings is based on this truth. We become a part of what we learn from the environment, okay? So, you know, I need to ask you some questions, and this is very important in helping you really to go to the next level. So a number of questions. One, what new skills will you learn and master without relenting this year? So again, I want you to go to the comments box. I usually don't do this often, like my friends do, but I want you to ask yourself, what are the new skills? Have you done a proper assessment? Have you sat in Aunt Sylvia's class and gone through a proper assessment of the imperatives and the importance when it comes to your life? Have you gone through my 1-year strategic roadmap in the group? I've got that. It's there. Those of you who want to be part of the group, it's all there. Have you gone there and checked for yourself to see exactly what it is you want to achieve for this year? It's very, very important, because when you understand what it is that you want to achieve, that's what's going to help you to be able to proceed to the next level. So what new skills and will you learn and master without relenting this year? And I think that's a very, very important question, because I know for many people, this is where they're falling short. So I'm going to share the link for the group, because if you go into the group, under the guides, we have the 1-year strategic roadmap. Oh, this is free, by the way, so you don't have to worry and think that we want to make money off you. No. If you want to learn, it's up to you. If you don't, that's your business. But I can tell you that what we do here is done with a lot of care. And for those of you that are serious about, you know, taking your life to the next level, come and be part of what we're learning. And then from there, you will grow. So this is very, very, very important. And then beyond that, so I've shared in the Facebook group about how you can begin by getting that booklet and learning, and then learn the skills. So type down what skills you want to learn for this year, and in the comment box, we'll see what they are. I'll check just now to see what you comment. But I'm also sharing the link again for the same also here on Facebook. Okay, where are we? Where we are? All right, there we are. So this is the group. I'm just sharing the group for you to join. So it's very, very important that you ask yourself that question. What are you planning to master? Then number two, remember these skills must align with your personal goals and objectives in order to speak into your mission and finally your destiny. Don't just say, I want to learn French. Why do you want to learn French? For what? Just to be able to speak French? Or is it because it's going to play an integral part in what you're doing towards assisting your mission? So don't just pick stuff and say, I just want to learn for the sake of learning. Don't learn for the sake of learning. Make sure it aligns and speaks to your mission and your vision. And remember, your mission is three things. It is the reason why you're born, or why you're on earth, or why you exist, which is your purpose. And then the people you're called to serve, which is your service. And then how you will serve them, which is your work. So make sure that when you pick these skills, when you learn these new things, they speak to those three. Because if they don't speak to those three, then essentially you are wasting time. And the last thing you want to do in this day and age is be wasting time, because that time is never gotten back. So remember that mastery lies in repetition of the consistent execution of a desired skill, and that's why it's called conditioning. There you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've come to the end today, and what I want to do now, as I head on to close, I want to quickly take a look at the comments and see. There you go. Great. I did see a comment. Oh my goodness, I missed the comment. It's disappeared. All right. So I think at this point we're done. And as I wrap up, one last reminder, and then we close. Okay, so one last reminder, and then I close. Remember that there are four very distinct steps. We've gone through them. The first is unconscious incompetence. The second is conscious incompetence. The third is conscious competence. And the fourth is unconscious competence. And remember, as you go through that process, this is how you condition your mind and your brain into doing new things. And remember, the reticular articulate activation system is designed only to filter through what it has been programmed to filter through. So if you're smart, you will learn how to program your subconscious mind using the previous stuff I've taught, and then that way you will see that you're beginning to change things. So whenever you find yourself with habits you don't like, whenever you find yourself with things you're not comfortable with that are going on in your life, you can actually go through the process of getting rid of them using what I've just mentioned. But the one key factor which I can't run away from is a high impact event. And that's why I'm big on high impact events, because I know what high impact events can do to completely transform a human being from a place of being a wreck to a place of redemption. And when I talk about redemption, I'm talking about being redeemed from the clutches of whatever issue is holding them from moving on. I mean, if you think about slavery, slavery is chains holding you from moving on. So if you are chained to a particular issue and you can't come out of it, you need a high impact event, because that high impact event is going to cause a jam to the system. It's going to cause a shock. And that shock will bring you to a place of realization. I've said this before. The first step to realization is what? Sorry. The first step to transformation is what? Realization. And the first step to realization is revelation. What is revelation? Revealed vision. When something comes so profoundly in your life and it shines a massive spotlight, and all of a sudden, what you could not see before, you now see. That's what revelation is, revealed vision. When you have a revelation, things change. So for example, we've been teaching this a whole year. There are people who have not changed, but they've attended these things. You know why they've not changed? Because they've not yet had a revelation. It's amazing. You can sit right through a class, you can sit right through the most profound speech of the century and not get a revelation at all. That's scary. My prayer as we close this meeting today is may you have a revelation, because the revelation is what will move you from whatever place you are right now into a newer place. It is what will drop the scales from your eyes to see what you couldn't see before. It is what will remove the wax from your ears to hear what you couldn't hear before. Okay, so where there's no revelation, our sure, round circles, year in, year out, nothing is going to change. You need a revelation. Alrighty, so tomorrow Auntie Sylvia is on Wednesday and is on Thursday. Dr. Nelly with very powerful lessons, and then Friday we have more training on why we do what we do, which is Jeunesse. So for myself and everybody here, adios, have a great day. We will catch you tomorrow.